Yeah, so hello everyone. I'm really excited for this week's community call as this would be the start of my one of many talks, features, explanations around the Hypertrace community. Also, this is my first open source project, so I would like to give a brief introduction before this. So I started working at Hypertrace directly as a fresh graduate. Until now, the experience working over here has been pretty amazing. I have been working for around 4.5 months till now and have contributed to various services such as alerting, query service, data ingestion pipeline, and now have nicely blended into the working culture over here. So coming to the average rate implementation. So recently we added a new feature of alerting which sends alerts based on anomalies to platforms such as Mail, Slack, etc. So one of the requirement was to send alerts based on average rate of a metric. Say a user or a customer would specify that I want alerts when the average rate of error goes beyond a certain value. So based on this requirement, we started to support average rate function in our system. So currently, as some of the folks might be aware, we use Pinot to store this data, and by default, Pinot doesn't support the average rate function. So earlier we were calculating average rate by summing over the data points and then manually dividing the response in the gateway service. So this approach had its own drawbacks as now the caller was responsible for providing the required arguments for the average rate function. So now we plan to shift that logic to query service. Also now we use Pinot's aggregation and transformation functions to simplify the calculations by transforming our average rate query into a much simpler query. So now our query is transformed into a simple sum division query, which is supported in Pinot itself. And now we just need to parse the query to supply the necessary arguments to Pinot. So now we'll look at the live demo for this. So I'm running Hypertrace using Docker Desktop, and I have a sample application hotspot. So using this, I'm generating some load. Yeah, so on the dashboard, you can see that this graph shows the number of errors, and we have selected the aggregation interval as 30 seconds. So for this point, say we have 30 errors at this point. So in the metrics tab, yeah, so we can see the error rate graph over here. So this error rate calculates the average rate of error, and for the at corresponding value of 30, it would be one error per second. Yeah, so that's it from my side. Back to you, Jayesh.